Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. I'm doing Football Life, Mark Johnson today. And Mark's been one of my great friends for a long, long time. He's our running back coach here at LC Bird, and he's the former head coach at Amelia County High School. Mark, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, glad to be here,
I want to give you your flowers. You're one of my favorite people. You're one of my favorite coaches. But just introduce yourself to the clinic and everybody out there today.
Yeah. Hey, first of all, thank you, Coach, for allowing me to come on today and asking me to come on. It's a good honor to be here. Again, like he said, I'm Mark Johnson, former head coach at Amelia County High School. Now the running backs and special teams coordinator here at LC Bird. I started coaching football at an early age. Been watching guys like what's his name from I can't think of the name, but they came through Amelia as head coaches in my earlier years. Brad Bradley was one of the coaches that I didn't coach for him, but I knew him well. I coached with Coach Clark, which he was Thomas Dale guy. He stayed in Amelia for a while. Coach Angelo, he was an old coach of mine. So I learned the game from those guys in my earlier years, just being around football with those guys. So after that, years later, I came back as an assistant coach. I came back as an assistant coach at Amelia County High School, and I was just helping out around the team pretty much. And then the year after that, they offered me a job as a defensive coordinator job. So I started that, and years later, I ended up stayed there while doing that. Then I left football for a while. I came back, and within them years, I became the head football coach at Amelia through some circumstances. Then after that, some things I was promised if we did well, they would reevaluate me at the end of the season, whatever. And ended up that year, we ended up winning the district championship, and we also I got coach of the year for the James River District. First person to ever come back to a school that I graduated from, and to do that. So that was a good honor for me. Then I came back. I didn't get that job the following year because they had I guess that's when Coach Bradley came in.
Let me stop you there because you told us a lot of information. So the first time I had ever met you, it was in 2008.
Yes,
I had left Meadowbrook High School as an assistant coach, and me and my brother Tony went to Amelia County High School, and we were announced in the library. And for all you young coaches out there that want to be the head coach, we sat in the library, and one thing I can remember is all the black kids sat on one side and all the white kids sat on the other side of the library. And this is 2008.
Facts.
So heck, that's 40 years after Martin Luther King had passed away, that there was still that type of feeling. And I wasn't down for that. I can't even remember at that time if I told the guys, hey, man, y'all need to mix up a little bit. But, I did my little spiel, and I remember the first thing I said was grades. I want y'all to remember grades. And we had probably maybe 30 kids in there between the JV and the varsity. And there was this coach. After we all got done, he raised his hand. And do you remember the question that you asked me? I was 29, I think.
Can we blitz?
Yeah, he wanted to blitz.
Will we be blitzing a lot?
Yeah, so he asked, would we blitz? And I said, how many do you want to bring? 6, 7, cover 0?
I remember.
And I said, hey, man, if it works, we'll do it. Yeah. So, that was my first time meeting Mark. And he was at that time, he was JV assistant coach. I think you were the D coordinator.
Yes, I was.
He was the D coordinator. Alvin Coghill was the head coach and the offensive coordinator for the JV team. And then it was me and 3 other varsity assistants.
Coach Jackson, Henry Jackson.
Yeah, and also, Henry was one of our JV. Yeah. So we had 4 varsity coaches and 3 JV coaches. Yeah. And, just talk a little bit about that time, Mark, being there at Amelia and what Amelia had been through, and then coming there to when you first met me.
Yeah, those years were they were trying years. Those years before Coach got there, we had some. It wasn't stable with our coaching staff. I mean, and the kids were getting restless about how things were getting ran. And when Coach Taylor came in, it to me it gave us a fresh start about how our program the model of how our program should be ran. And mind you, it's good. I tell people all the time. I tell young coaches all the time now, because I've seen it a little bit. It's like you learn a lot from how the bad things were, and to see when Coach Troy came in and he showed us how other programs at a bigger level, how those programs should be ran. And I think the turnaround of the kids' mentality of winning football games or having a tradition of winning, kind of spilled over on me, and I appreciate him now because he showed me the other side. But I learned stuff from the bad as well from the good. I think the kids, the kids' mentality of how to win, which Amelia was always the standard. It was a winning program because of guys. And what I did, I used to teach my kids about the past of people playing before me, with my brother Ron Johnson, Dr. Ronald Johnson, and Clifton Johnson, and of those guys in that era, the brand of football that they played in. And they used to tell me how each week we practice harder in practice than their games would be. And I tried to bring that mentality, which Coach Troy did that. So I got a chance to see what they were talking about through him, and which made coaching football a lot. But during that time, before Coach Taylor got there, we were mediocre. I mean, the kids were they were disgruntled, and how I ended up becoming head coach that year, it was kind of crazy how things happened. The kids had gone to the school board about they wanted a change at the coaching position. So the superintendent at the time called Coach Jackson and myself to the school board, and she was like, look, we're thinking about going a different direction. Would you be interested? And my first thing was yes, but at the same time I was like, I didn't, because I believe in respecting coaches. I believe in our profession. It's a fraternity, which you don't really want to step on coaches' toes and stuff like, because it's a brotherhood thing, because we don't do it for the money. Mm-hmm. We do it for the love of our kids, and we do it for the love of our community and things. So I wanted to set that straight, that look, hey, I want to make sure I'm not stepping on any toes at the same time. But she was like, no, the kids in this community needs you. And I said, well, the only way I do that if I can bring my right hand guy with me, which was Coach Jackson. So that was and through Coach Troy, I knew I could do it. Him and Tony, they backed me 100% they backed me 100%. They say, look, man, go do it. This is something that we know you can do, and we're going to be rooting for you. So we ended up doing that, and I think that year we only had I was given that job in June or July, June. I think the end of June, beginning of July. So I had to get a coaching staff, together during that time. But before football season, it was short notice. So I reached out to some people, and a lot of people really wanted to come on this coaching staff, and I was excited, but the one guy I was really high on was getting Coach Pearson, because he was actually our football coach back when we were in high school. So it was good. When I called him and reached out to Coach Pearson, I would say, Coach Pearson, I need your help. And he said, what do you need, son? Boom, right away he was on that coaching staff. So I wanted to add some experience so the kids could look at old school and see how the old school was ran. And of course, Coach Jackson, and I got a couple other young guys coming in to coach my defense, and Ivan Clark was he was a standout in Amelia. He came on as my deep coordinator, and Dwan Page as well. He was a big standout in Amelia back in the day. So I wanted to add Amelia guys so we could keep the tradition going. And we turned that season around, and we ended up winning the district that year. Put a lot of kids on the all district team, all region team, and coach of the year that year. So it was an exciting year. We ended up losing in the first round. We had some forfeit games taken away from us, but we were in the season. I think we only lost to Goochland, and I think it was Goochland, and no, it was just Goochland in Central Lunenburg that year. So it was a very successful year getting into that year. But like I said, a lot of the stuff that I learned from the bad, and I learned from the good when Coach Troy and Tony came through. And yeah, he was mentioning the blitzing part. Yeah, that was the first question I wanted to ask. Say, look, we got kids that can run. We got kids that like to attack the football, and that's why I asked that question. And sure enough, we did, because Tony made sure that we did a lot of blitzing that year. So it was exciting.
Yeah. So the 2008 season, I went there. And then 2009 season, another guy was the head coach who had been on the previous staff. Yeah. And then you got the head coaching job in 2010 that you were talking about. Yeah. But just to go back I just wanted to talk about the story a little bit about how, I got my first head coaching job at Amelia, and I was an assistant at Meadowbrook High School in 2007. And I think it was 2007 in the spring, Amelia had came to Meadowbrook to do a 7-on-7.
7-on-7.
So we saw Amelia's players, and we thought they had kids, me and my brother, and they had athletes.
Yes, we did.
We thought maybe they were, it's that old philosophy, like DBs go to linebacker and linebackers go to D-line and get more speed on the field.
Almost got to fight in that game.
Maybe.
It was crazy.
My teams have been banned from more 7-on-7s than any other coach in America. And so I think it was during the season of 2007, Coach Ron Paquette, who was the AD at Byrd, had told me, would you be interested in going to Amelia to be the head coach? He had gotten a phone call, I believe, from Gary Lunsford, who was a big booster at Amelia. He's very influential in bringing
school board as well,
bringing me there. And I told Coach Paquette, I said, yeah, I would be interested, but I want to, make sure we get through this season at Meadowbrook, because I was an assistant and we, lost to Hermitage in the regional championship. Morgan Moses was a junior. So I think it was that year, 2007.
Yeah.
I had applied to be the head coach at a couple of different schools, and I didn't get an interview. And they said, Troy, you don't have head coaching experience. You've never been a coordinator. You never called plays. So, I was 29 years old. I had been at Meadowbrook since 2001. And basically Coach Bedwell, who was the head coach at Byrd, and Coach Paquette were very influential in me getting that job, and talking to Mr. Lunsford, Coach Lunsford, and bringing me and my brother out there. So I just want to say thank you to those guys. And, it's that old saying, like when Urban Meyer told Lou Holtz, I don't think I'm going to take the Bowling Green job.
Yeah.
And Lou Holtz told me, he said, well, if it was a good job, they wouldn't be hiring you. So, and we thought that there was players there. And then if we went in there and brought the energy and started the program, that we could get it in the right direction.
Which you did.
And he had players. I mean, Amelia had players. It was very important in getting him and getting Henry on that staff to keep all those kids there and get them playing.
Yeah.
So that was my first head coaching job, and we went 5-5.
Yeah.
His JV team went undefeated.
Yeah.
They were mostly ninth graders, and we had the first non-losing season in a long time at Amelia. The first time that Amelia had beaten Central Lunenburg since 1978.
Facts. Yes, that's facts.
So that was big. And then, that season ended, and Coach Bowles at Meadowbrook, who was my mentor and my head coach when I was assistant there, he retired. So I had to make a tough decision to go back to Meadowbrook. And, my principal there at the time, Melvin Rose, he had told me not to go back to Meadowbrook. He didn't want to leave me. He said, but you need to make your own name. So I went to Meadowbrook. I felt like, we'd helped build the program there, and we wanted to keep it going. And we went 9-1 our first year and lost one game by 1 point, didn't make the playoffs. But, you didn't get the job the year after I left. Did you stay on as an assistant?
Yeah, I stayed on it as an assistant that year. And then I think the year after.
That's when you got the head coaching job.
Yeah, that's when I got the coaching job there.
So you became head coach at Amelia in 2010, like you said. You went to the playoffs. You got coach of the year. And then they brought in a new head coach, Brad Bradley, who I'm supposed to be talking to here this week. We're going to do one of these for Brad and his dad. So that year you took a year off because the new staff was brought in. You were the previous head coach, so you didn't get retained.
Yeah, but to add on to that, Coach Bradley, when all of this stuff went on, Coach Bradley, he asked me to he did ask me to stay on.
Oh, he did? Wow.
Yeah, he did. He asked me to stay because he knew that the things that were going on wasn't right, but he asked me to be part of that team, and I just didn't at the time. I guess with anybody, when you were promised that, hey, we're gonna retain you, we're just gonna see how things go, and I'm thinking that the record we had and the accomplishments that we had, I was just assuming that we would still be the head coach, but Coach Bradley did ask me to stay on, and I talked to Coach Bradley. Coach Bradley's a good guy, and we wanted to go up there and do some stuff with Coach Bradley to pick his brain on some stuff because he's a good person to pick a brain. He knows football well, a lot.
So your nephew played quarterback for him, and your other nephew Banks, that he graduated the year before, right?
Yeah.
When you were the head coach.
Yeah.
So both your nephews played for you, and then your nephew AJ played quarterback for him, right?
Quarterback.
Year.
Yeah. AJ had run at quarterback, and then we had Tyrell Banks, which actually Coach Taylor
So Banks was a senior.
Yeah.
So AJ was a junior.
Yeah.
When Bradley was there. Wow.
Yeah. No, Banks had graduated the year.
Oh, he had. Okay.
Yeah, he had graduated, but to
piggyback
on that though, when Coach Taylor came in, the first thing he was like the running back, and he saw Tyrell Banks, and he was like, "This guy's he's going to be a very special kid." So, and I think then the next, I think my nephew AJ came on. So we had those guys. Man, we had a special team that year with Coach Rowe. We had one of the biggest lines that we had ever seen.
And your nephew made Player of the Week in the Richmond Times-Dispatch. How many yards did he run for against Chatham?
Oh God,
250?
250, almost 300 yards.
Yeah, so that was awesome.
Yeah, and I think he was probably the first guy to, to really be, I guess you say, recruited, and having people like after someone. But Coach Taylor, we owe that a lot to him, and actually Banks and all those guys still. They're very appreciative of this guy and how he just turned the mindset of everything around. So they're very, very appreciative of Coach right here. So.
Yeah. So the one thing I remember going there is we did a workout in the morning, a workout at night in the summers, did a workout after school until the summer started. And then, so it was all built around the weight room and getting in shape. And basically that's how we were going to change the program. And that's pretty much anywhere that you go in is at that time, I don't believe we could practice out of season, maybe do 7-on-7, but it was all about the weight room and changing that culture and getting kids to buy in.
Yeah.
And so Bradley became the head coach in 2011, and then Coach Bradley left. Yeah. And then what happened with the job then? Who became the head coach, and did you coach as an assistant?
Yeah, I came back and I think Coach, he's the coach at Colonial Heights now.
Keeler.
Coach Keeler. He ended up getting the job. And then
was it Keeler or was it Tiller?
Yeah, Tiller got the job.
Okay, so Adam Tiller became the head coach.
He came in. Yeah, he sure did. Tiller came in. Then after Tiller, I want to say I didn't stay on those.
So how many years did Tiller?
I didn't stay on them years.
Okay, so you were out of coaching.
Yeah, I was out of coaching those years, and I think Tiller stayed maybe 2 or 3 years. I think Coach Tiller was in there. I'm not sure. So
and then he left and went to Meadowbrook.
Yeah, he went to Meadowbrook, and then I think I want to say Keeler came in next. I want to say Keeler was our head coach.
Okay, so Keeler was the head coach.
Yeah, and I ended up being the defensive coordinator that year.
For Keeler. So what year was that, do you think?
I want to say it was 2000 and so these years moving
14,
around.
15, 16.
It's
17?
Between there. Yeah, 17 or 18. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so there was 2 years where you went back to Amelia, where you were the defensive coordinator, and that was under Coach Keeler, and then Coach Daniels.
I was a defensive coordinator for Coach Daniels the year afterward. So and with that,
so let's count these up. Hold on, okay. So 07, it was Phil Gross.
Yes.
08, it was Troy at Amelia County High School. Okay. And then it was 09, it was Brad Bradley.
Yeah.
Then hold on, no, my fault. 09 was Carson.
Yeah,
Coach and then Carson, 10 was Bradley.
Yeah, no, I was in 2000.
Okay, 7 was Gross. 8 was me, and then after me was Carson.
Yeah,
and then after Carson was Bradley.
Yeah, it was.
And then after Bradley, it was
me and then Bradley. Me and Bradley.
Oh my! Oh.
Yeah, see that?
Wow. So you want to talk about
I'm the
dysfunction?
Yeah.
All right, let's start over with this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
07 Gross. 08 Troy Taylor.
Yeah.
09 Carson, and then after Carson it was you. So they had the kids that were in the program 4 years had 4 different head coaches.
Yeah.
Then after you it was Bradley.
Yeah.
And then after Bradley was Tiller. So we'll give Tiller maybe 2 years or 3. And then it was Keeler.
Yeah.
And then it was Joe Daniels.
Yes.
And then after Joe Daniels it was you.
It came back to me.
Okay, so then we're not going to talk all about the story, but it was another head coach. So that's 10 different head coaches.
Yes.
Within a time period of, let's see, when did you? What year was it? The COVID year, 2020.
Yeah.
So from in a 12-year period, in 13-year period, that's 12 different head coaches.
That's
wow.
Facts. That's facts. That's facts.
So you want to talk about turnover?
Yeah,
and that's turnover.
And the only thing I wanted to do was build stability to a program that this guy to my left, that he had instilled in me that how a program should be ran. So it was crazy seeing all the coaches that came before me, but I wanted to change the light. To hey, I wanted to be an Amelia guy. I was an Amelia.
You were an Amelia guy. This guy loves Amelia more than anybody.
I loved Amelia, and I loved the program, the way we were headed, and it's just crazy how many coaches. But I've learned so much from that. And the coaches that I've met, Coach Ron Gundry, who just passed away a few years ago. That's a funny story with him and how all of that came about. But Coach Gundry and we didn't set horses when the first day I met him, because I was told that he was just coming in to be I guess whatever, I don't know. And before I knew it, he was telling the kids that he was going to be the defensive coordinator. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But anyway, I learned a lot from Coach Gundry because of the fact that this guy, he knew football, and we had a podcast.
He had coached Michael Strahan.
Yeah, he actually was on a podcast last week with Coach McPhee, who I had a chance to. I used to go and pick his brain on several.
So watch that Richard McPhee podcast.
Yeah, watched it. That was a great podcast. But I used to go and sit with him and just ask him about the 3-5-3 defense and just picked his brain. But this man was so influential. Then I found out that he and Coach Gundry had, they knew each other. They coached at Huguenot together. So, but anyway, Coach Gundry, we ended up being real good friends, real close. We used to ride to the football games together, and everything, and just picking his brains and just learning, understanding the game of football and just understanding different situations about football. And he really meant a lot to me when he passed away a few years ago.
So let me ask you about the trip to Redskin Park.
Oh God.
With Coach Mountjoy and my brother. Tell everybody a little bit about that story.
Man, that was crazy. I was I can't recall the actual timing of it, but Troy called me and he was like, Mark, we're going to Redskin Park. I think either he or Tony. And I was like, yeah, right. I'm like, Redskin Park. That's not okay. I'm going to ride along because I'm still not believing what was going on. That was crazy. But I remember Tony picked me up and we went to Coach Mountjoy to pick up Coach Mountjoy, which is another. He is another football guru. This man is football genius to me. But anyway, we picked up Coach Mountjoy and we were riding. And
this is what? This is the year after I had left, right?
Yeah, this is the year after you left. So we pulled up to Redskin Park and I'm like, oh man, they weren't in line. It's crazy. So Coach Mountjoy pushed the button and he announced himself. I'm Coach Mountjoy. I'm here to see I want to say he was there to see the defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. And I can't remember. It wasn't Caldwell. I can't remember the coach of the Redskins at the time. He was a head coach.
Was it Zorn?
No, he was oh God, I can't think. It wasn't Zorn, but he was the black guy. He was the head coach, or he was the offensive coordinator. One of the two. But anyway.
Oh, it was Marvin Lewis? Was he the head coach of the Redskins?
No, not during that time. I can't remember. I can't remember who it was.
But anyway,
so many
different ones.
Yeah, he had so many, just like Amelia at the time. But anyway, it was crazy because when he said I'm Coach Mountjoy, the buzzer rang and they opened the door. Hey, Coach Mountjoy. I'm like, this is crazy. They know this guy like he had been there like all the time. So it was funny. We walked in. We were in the belly of the Washington Redskins, and I'm like, for a young coach actually to have get that experience was crazy. And we stayed there for it was hours and hours just talking football. Well, I'm just listening because I'm with a football guru and I'm in my favorite place, the Redskins.
He's a huge Redskins fan.
I'm a big Redskin fan, and so just being there was just crazy. So those are the things that really introduced me to like getting out and just meeting people, and even when Coach Taylor brought Morgan Moses to get a physical at the time, we never knew who would ever. We would have never known at the time that this guy would be one of the best offensive linemen and coach in football.
Yeah. And
just meeting him, I remember the day when he walked through, and I'm like, oh my God, do they grow people this big? And I was like, can we help you? Did you move to Amelia? Are you moving? He was like, no, I'm getting a physical, because at the time we were giving away free physicals at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, this dude is huge. And come to find out it was Morgan Moses. So it's so many things that this guy and Coach and Tony, again, you learn so much from the new.
We're gonna have a special guest, Coach.
You learn so much from
you might want to move over to this seat. We got a special guest.
You learn so much from the new, and you learn so much from the old. And it was just a great experience for me. But I'm excited. I was excited, but being in Amelia was one of the best times of my life, man. And I appreciate all the time. I appreciate all the time that I had the head there, but
look who showed up.
Oh,
yeah,
who?
Coach McPhee.
Coach Mc. Oh my God,
we gotta put it on Facebook.
We were just talking about you, Coach.
Oh, were you really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, sit right in that seat, Coach.
Yes, sir. It was.
Yeah, sit right in that seat. I'm about to put it on Facebook. You're on here, Coach. All your fans.
I don't have no fans.
all your fans watch, Coach.
All my fans died.
Yeah. We were just talking about you, Coach.
Yeah. Move over just a little bit, Coach. Mark, you move in. There's the screen right there. So, Coach McPhee, Mark was just talking about you, how he used to go to the Home Depot. He talked to you about the 353. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know how it happened to go in there one day and I saw him and I was like, oh my God, is that who I think it was? And I went over to him and I asked him, because at the time, the coach we had at the time, he had implemented the 353 defense, and I was really unfamiliar with it. And I had done some research on this guy and knowing that he was a 353 guy. And I used to just go over and just pick his brain about just different things about the 353 and just seeing how he took the time, which he could have easily brushed me off. But just seeing how he used to just talk to me about this stuff, I'm very appreciative, Coach, for real.
Well, I understand. I thank you for saying that. But what happened? I was working there. I had retired and everything, and I was working there because I was raising money to help take kids to camp. They couldn't afford the camp, so most of the money that I made there, I put into the booster trailer so we could take kids to camp.
Wow, Coach.
That was good. But it was very, our talks was really good and I really appreciate it.
So Coach, I don't know if you know, but Mark was the head coach in 2000 and what year was it?
It was 2010 first.
2010 at Amelia, and he didn't get brought back. They brought in another coach. Then there was another coach. Then there was another coach. Then finally, you got a chance to go back and be the head coach at Amelia for a second time. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that experience and what happened with that.
The second
coach,
time,
have you ever heard anything like this?
except for what's going on now in Huguenot.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, I don't want to say that.
Yeah, but it was crazy when I got the job the second time. They brought me in and it was almost like, this is it this time. And we had a great season. We had a great season that year. And then everything kind of hit the fan.
That was the COVID year?
That was a COVID year. We were in a COVID year that year. And we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even lift weights that year.
And you made the playoffs.
We made the playoffs.
Practice one hour a day?
We could only practice 1 hour a day. We made the playoffs that year. And I thought everything was good. And the next thing you know, they ended up
this was right before August camp. Yeah. You got a call and they told you what?
They told me that I was told by several people my job was safe because I didn't do anything. It was I was good. Don't worry about it. You're good. Then next thing you know, Coach Jackson was at a school board meeting and he was like, "You better get up here quick because they about to name another football coach." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Name another football coach."
He just went to the playoffs.
Yeah,
he was coach of the year the first time. Coach.
Yeah,
I can believe that.
You can believe that.
So I ended up finding out that night that they had released me from my coaching job.
So you got let go again.
For
this guy loves Amelia County more than anyone on the planet.
I was going around. I had doing
just like you love Huguenot, Coach. He loves Amelia.
Yeah, during that COVID year, I was going around. I had with my business, I was donating food to local food bank, not in my name, but I was doing it in my program's name, in the football program's name, donating hundreds. I know at least $10,000 worth of food from my business to the local food bank, and I was doing all this stuff because I love the program. It wasn't about Mark Johnson. It was about the program.
You love the school. You love the
what
kids.
I was trying to build. What I was trying to build.
Coach Smith.
I was trying to give back from our football program.
Yeah.
So it was hard to hear from my top assistant that man, you need to get up here because they're talking about getting rid of you. And sure enough, they brought in the situation where I didn't have a degree. I used to work at the school as the in-school suspension coordinator. But with my business, I had to let that go. But the same group of superintendent school board people hired me that year, but it was the same group that told me that I didn't have I wasn't working at the school.
So they made a change.
They made a change.
They brought in someone
They brought
else.
in they brought it, yeah. And so it was crazy.
Twice from Amelia.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was the same.
Up to coach there,
it was the same school board members that hired me, but it was the same ones that fired me to tell me that I didn't have.
They had 10 different coaches in 12 years, Coach. 10 different coaches in 12 years.
Yes, sir.
And this guy was 2 of them, and he got let go.
Well, you know, when I first started coaching in 1974 at Maggie Walker, you had to be a teacher,
yes, sir,
to get paid. You could coach, but you had to have a teacher to get paid. And they didn't have any teaching positions open. So they brought me in security.
Yeah.
And I ended up assistant director with security before all was said and done.
Great. Yeah.
But it was the same rule. If you're not a classroom teacher, you can't get paid to coach.
Exactly. And it was crazy because, like I said, I came on as the in-school suspension coordinator that year. And it was crazy. I thought, sure, everything was good. But again, when I got the job that COVID year, it was crazy. We couldn't lift weights, coach. We couldn't. I only had a certain time to be on the field, and through the midst of all of that, we went to the playoffs that year, and we had a good successful year that year.
Y'all won a playoff.
Yeah, we had a good year that year, and just to have that happen, it was one of the.
So, what advice can you give? I'll let you answer first, Coach. Then you can bring in the more experience, more wisdom, both of us. What can you say about loyalty from your assistant coaches? Is that the number one quality you look for? Just move a little bit closer.
I talked to camera. I talked to Perry Jones. Coach Taylor had a camp.
The clinic.
At the clinic. And we were getting ready to leave that year. And I was almost in tears that year because it was crazy. But anyway, I met Coach Jones, and the clinic was over, and they were sitting. Coach Perry Jones was sitting with his group, and they were having to be talking about loyalty, and I came in, and he was like, Coach, what do you think about this? Whatever. Somehow we got on, and I told him, and he could not believe what had happened, and he was like, and I was telling him, loyalty. If you don't have a group of people around you that care, number one, they got to care about you because they want to see the best for you, and I wanted to hire people that had the same interests that I had, that care about you, care about your school, care about family and God. If you get those people around you, the rest is history. That's going to happen. So, and I was telling him about having good people around him, and that's to me is a cement of a good program. The X's and O's and stuff, they're good. It's good to have the X's and O's and having stuff like that. But if you don't have that core about having God, family, and just faith and having good people around you, the rest is going to fall. And I learned that.
So, Coach McPhee, loyalty in your assistants. Have you ever had a similar experience with disloyalty? And what advice could you give younger head coaches out there?
Well, you always got to hire people that have the same interests that you have for the most part.
Yes, sir.
And the only way you know that is to sit down when you interview them and sit down and talk with them. I can't say I ever had any, if they were disloyal, or maybe they thought what they wanted to do was best, but I was the head coach. When it goes in the paper on Saturday morning, who won or lost, it don't mention you, it mentions me because I'm the head coach. So we did it my way.
Yes, sir.
And that's the way I think the guy from the newspaper told me the other day that they're doing a story on the Richmond Free Press that'll be out Thursday about It come from your show. That's what happened.
What?
Because they had heard the show.
Oh,
and
really?
They wanted to do something on me.
Oh, they should.
Yes, they should.
They should.
So, he was saying, you want 150-some games? And
who was that, Fred Jeter?
Fred Jeter.
Okay, well, Fred Jeter actually was a good writer.
Yeah, he
was the best. I used to wait every
Yes, he was.
What was it, Saturday morning, Coach, to get that paper and see how many yards Huguenot's offense put up. How many points y'all scored and how many yards the Lee Davis tailback rushed for. Because he used to go for about 200, 250, 300.
Yeah.
Nick Burney.
Yeah.
Adam Burke. Yeah. Ivy Hopkins.
That's Howard Hopkins' son.
Ooh. And he played for you, Howard?
No, Howard Hopkins was our AD at Maggie Walker.
Wow. It's a small world. It is a fraternity.
Wow, it is.
And we talked about it. You watched the podcast, Coach.
Oh, yes, I did.
People were telling me that they stayed up until 2 a.m. listening to that podcast.
Yeah, we did?
Yes. Brad Lutz, who's the head coach at William Byrd, he came on. We did one for Chilcote when your daughter got married.
Yeah.
And he said he stayed up till 2 a.m. listening to that. Wow. People are saying that it was phenomenal. All these people have been contacting me saying, do another one. Yes. Keep doing all these coaches and documenting the history of our region. And it would be cool, Coach, to do one on all your former players and get them in.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
Well, what this story is going to be about 19 kids that we sent to Power 5 schools, 19 of them. We sent 77 kids to school on scholarship.
That's great.
The whole time I was there. And the funny part about it, we sent 2 kids to Wake Forest, and they both top flight lawyers now.
Wow.
And that wasn't even a part
I may need them, Coach.
You may need them. But I think it's always there. But somebody got to be there to push them sometimes to get it out of them. And we were fortunate enough that I think we had 1 first-round draft choice, which was David Terrell.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember him.
Brian Steele was the first player taken in the 2nd round his senior year. And then Corey Holiday, Bruce Branch,
Bernard
Cox. Now he's going to be the
Epps.
Yeah.
Dietrich
Epps. He was in Miami.
Yeah.
And the reason how he got a scholarship to Miami because I took 10 players with me to Miami to work their camp in the summer. And they saw him in camp and offered scholarship on his
Wow.
I was going to ask you, you talked about Mike Smith, but I don't know if we talked a lot about him. But talk about what Mike Smith has meant to football in Virginia. Is he the godfather?
Yeah,
Coach?
I think he is because
we're going to do a show with Mike Smith and me and Coach McPhee. We're going to do it anyway.
Matter of fact, I left him a message after you talked to me about that. And told him to get in touch with me, and
we'll get it set up. So talk a little bit about Coach Smith.
Well,
people don't know who this guy is, Coach. They coach in this state and don't know who Mike Smith is.
Well, see, the thing about Mike is when I first came, he met me when I was coaching.
Look at those viewers. Those viewers have gone by times 3 now that Coach McPhee's here.
Yeah,
I put it on Facebook. Coach McPhee's on.
So and what happened was Mike. Mike is one of these kind of people. He's loyal to you.
Yes, sir.
And he's going to treat you fairly. But when you first start with him, he's not going to give you the whole bag. He's going to give you a portion of the bag.
Yeah.
And then he's going to see what you do with that. And that goes from there. So I went from in 88, when I was the coach of the year, I went from my first year in the Coaches Association to 2014. I was the president of the Coaches Association.
Wow.
So, I mean, Mike is a great person. And I'm gonna put it this way because this is the best way to put it for me. Mike has done more for Black kids in the Tidewater area than most people would have given credit for.
Oh yeah,
because all they talk about is the fact is that he win, he run up the score, he does. and to me, he's not running up the score. You're not stopping him.
Yeah.
So
and that's what I learned.
Let me ask y'all this because I know you'll know, but there was a coach that told me that he's a white guy and he's from another state, but he's a head coach in Virginia. And he says that he has players on his team that say to him, you don't understand me. You don't look like me. Yeah. I mean, so how could somebody like Mike Smith that's from Jonesville, Virginia, and Southwest Virginia. How can he relate to black kids in inner city Hampton? What is so special about him?
Well, let me give you an example. A few years ago back, Mike had on a leather coat, a leather hat, and his daughter said jokingly, "My dad, 100 years old, and he dressed like he 18." and kids play into
So
that.
he got swag.
Yeah.
He's like Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like Joe Namath.
Yeah, I mean, Mike is a great person, and he knows how to handle himself around young people, old people, middle-aged people, and that's what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
You can't just be one way.
No, you can't.
You know, so because things changes from moment to moment.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're gonna get lost in the shuffle.
You will.
So
You will. That's one thing I learned. That's one thing I learned to adapt into. And over all my years, you got to adapt to all kids, not just one group of kids. And that's why I learned from the bad coaches, and I learned from the new ones. So I learned a lot of stuff through my years about adapting to different situations. So.
Well, I've always said to my kids on the football team and other sports that I've coached,
yes, sir.
When I was at Huguenot, people aren't afraid of you; they're afraid of that name on your chest.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make them be afraid of you.
Yes, sir.
So
Amen.
It's the same thing.
Let me ask you about.
You got to hurry because I got to get into basketball.
Okay, one more question. There's a kid, and he might be making bad grades, not going to school, not going to the weight room, not doing this, not doing that. All of these things, are they because of a bigger problem that's within that kid, or how did you deal with that? And do you see it the same way?
Well, believe it or not, I hired Coach Ron Gundry, and there was other people I hired before him. But Coach Gundry, who passed away now, God rest him, I had a coach who not only coached a position, but he was in charge of my after-school study hall. Wow. Nobody played for me that didn't go to study hall. And if he gave me a bad report, you don't play. You don't play that week. You got to do exactly what the study hall is asking you to do. Yes, Teachers giving you homework, whatever. If we get anything from a teacher saying you didn't turn in your homework or you didn't come to class, that you don't play that week. Wow. And we had that study hall almost the whole.
I remember y'all had it in Piranha.
Yeah, the whole time I was there. We put it in and it worked just like that. And they got him out of it.
Well, thank you for coming on, Coach. Yes, I know you got to go to the basketball game. I'll walk you down there.
Yeah, I'm going down there.
Telling your story.
Yeah, Cosby is playing Delphine Bird, so it ought to be good.
Hey, thank you, Coach.
Girls,
I appreciate you, man, for everything.
So,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
You look better if it was green and gold.
It was, Coach, at one time. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was well after all of that had happened. And I just want to say that coaches that were good mentors to me were Coach Billy Mills. Coach Billy Mills was a great help. I used to call Coach Mills and ask him about different situations. And one time I asked him to give me during that COVID year, I needed a handbook because I wanted to make sure my program was headed into a good direction. And during that time, Coach Mills, I talked to Coach Mills, and Coach Mills, I said, Coach Mills, I need some help. Can you help me out? And Coach Mills was like, Coach Johnson, you can take my handbook. He said, take my handbook. Coach Mills said, take my handbook, and you use my handbook. Nobody has to know, that, hey, people share information with each other all the time. And Coach Mills was like, hey, anything I can do to help you, I'm more than willing to help you. So I want to appreciate Coach Mills for helping me out along the way, and a lot of other coaches, man, during that time helped me out. Trying to become a better football coach, and learning different stuff from people who did it. So Coach Mills, really, I give a lot of honor to him as well, just helping me along the way. But piggybacking on what Coach McPhee was saying, as far as like having people surrounding you, having people that having your back, and understanding what do you want out of your program, because like he said, that at the end of the day, it's all about you and your program, because they're not gonna interview the assistant coaches, they're not gonna interview the trainer, they're gonna interview you. So it was a thing to me. It was a thing to me that I really wanted to. I was always looking for input from my coaches, but at the end of the day, I had the last say so on things, and I understand that sometimes things they might see things in a different light than you would. But at Amelia, we have 60 kids. I had 60 kids. I don't know how many I have now, but I would have 60 kids, and I'm in control of 60 kids. So my thing is, I had to put myself in put those kids in the best situation, even though sometimes it might have been a great idea, but to me, it didn't make sense to me maybe at the time. So I piggyback on Coach McPhee. You gotta have coaches around you that are going to be loyal and are on the same page with you. And just Coach Troy, just even to this day, our coaching staff here at LC Bird, I mean, we love each other here at Bird. I love all the coaches, and we're on the same page, man, and we understand each other. And
it's all about the kids.
It's all about them.
We have our three things. Our first thing is we want to change lives, help kids get to the next level, and build champions for life. So if everybody's on that same page, including the parents and the kids and the coaches, you're all working towards the same goal. We got 5 people watching right now. If you have any questions, if you've got a comment, go to YouTube. It's not streaming on Facebook, but it is streaming on YouTube Live. It's youtube.com/Totem Pole Sports. If you just go to the Totem Pole Sports YouTube, you can make a comment. That's Totem Poles, who hosts the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. I mean, what a special day to have Mark talking about Coach McPhee, and then Coach McPhee
I didn't have no
come
clue
through.
I had no clue.
I mean, what's the chances? One of the coaches texted me and said, "Hey, Coach McPhee's here to see you."
That's
and that just shows the love that he has.
Yes, man.
For football, and for me and for coaches.
Yeah.
So when you got let go the second time at Amelia, you talked to me on the phone. What did I tell you, and what was that like? What was that about?
It was crazy because when all of that stuff, everything hit me like, I mean, just within 24 hours, everything happened. And I mean, literally 24 hours from the time Coach Jackson had called me and just told me, you need to be up here right now. So after that, I think maybe a day went by, whatever. I called Tony. Well, actually, Tony Taylor might have called
Tony's
me.
My brother.
Yeah,
my brother.
And we always say we're brothers from another mother. We since the time we met. But anyway, he called me and he was like, "What's going on with Amelia?" Because he knew it wasn't me. He said, "What's going on with Amelia?" And I told him. He said, "Hold up, let me call you back." And I'm like, "Huh? We're in the middle of a conversation. You telling me you're gonna call me back?" I'm like, "I need you right now, bro. I need to talk to you right now." He said, "I'm gonna call you back." And within that time, I think within maybe 3 minutes, man, this guy right here called me, and and actually it gets emotional with me because of the fact, how all this stuff happened. And if you guys knew the whole story to what things were happening and all the lies that were put on me during that time, if you understood how
they said he was toxic.
Yeah,
people claim that this man, who's one of the best people I've ever met, was toxic.
Yeah,
and that is the furthest thing from the truth. He treats people the way he wants to be treated. And he's a good man, a great husband. I love him.
I try to learn things from other coaches and how they did things, and try not to be like the bad. So I learned a lot through a lot of people. But to get back on that again, it's like it hurt to when you have kids. I had someone to mention that I gave a kid drugs, and I'm like, I don't even use drugs myself. So how in the world I would make a kid? He was hurt at the time. A kid was hurt at the time, and he said that I told him to take drugs. I don't know what drugs I could have told him to take to possibly make him get back on the field. I don't know, but anyway, but all of those lies were put on me at the time. So you got to understand within that 24-hour period, I'm getting hit by all of this stuff that I had no idea, no clue about. So he calls me and he was like, he didn't really care about what went on. He didn't care about what had happened. He was like, I'll see you Monday. I'm like, what are you talking about? You see you Monday. I want to see you you'll be at practice at workouts on Monday. And so he was telling me, hey, you got a home here at Bird. And man, I'm telling you, it went from sadness, which I was still hurt because with all the lies and stuff that happened to me, but it went from the hurt to happiness, knowing that I was going to be with my brothers again. It was that to me, and to be on a bigger stage, and for him to even ask me to be on a bigger stage like Bird, I just didn't know what to say but to show up on Monday. And from that Monday he introduced me to the team, and it was crazy how it was because they opened their arms to me like I was there for 30 years. And I went from being a head coach to an assistant coach within 24 hours. And it seemed like my steps didn't change because he allowed me to still be the person that I was when I was in Amelia. And I think with this, again, going back to this coaching staff, it's like the different things that everybody bring to this coaching staff. Coach Whittingham, who's a former head coach too, high school head coach, who's a phenomenal guy, man. He's just having him and having myself along with Coach Taylor. It's like having 3 head coaches on a football team. It's almost like unheard of. So just joining that group, man, it's just unreal. So that 24-hour turnaround, you have to understand, I went from sorrow to like one of the best gifts in the world.
So you went from being a head coach to being an assistant coach again, and you had a whole new culture, a whole new family. Wow. And our first year with you here, we went to the playoffs. We lost in the first round to Freeman, and then this year we won 2 playoff games. We lost to Highland Springs in the regional championship. Talk a little bit about going from Amelia with everything you were dealing with. I mean, kids going to the school board and saying this and that, and they want a new coach, to when you came here, and what was the first thing that you did, to build relationships with those kids, because you were the running back coach and the linebacker coach?
Man, what I did was I wanted I shared my story with them, number one. Even with my having an accident back in on a Memorial Day where I got, I lost 2 of my best friends, got hit by a drunk driver. And just sharing that story with them because they were wondering, well, Coach, why are you limping? So I would always tell them, hey, this comes from the injury where I lost 2 of my great friends and by a drunk driver. But in that in itself was a story because God gave me a second chance with that too. And I believe that all things happen for a reason. That's just my opinion. But just talking to these guys, man, just individually, because I like to go up to people and like to just talk to them and say, man, how you doing? What are your grades like? What do you want to be after football? I do that even with my younger kids now. Even with my younger running backs, I have all of them in my running back chat. So I want to get to know them as especially the newer guys. I want to get to know them as people and how they how they're doing. What do they do on their spare time? And just talk to them over the weekends. Like one of my running backs, I just text him over the weekend, is ask him how he was doing, and you don't understand how little things like that, little things I've learned along the way about getting to know people and getting to know them as people. Because I believe once you do that, they gravitate to you. And I think that's what happened my first year with Trevor, because you hear stuff about, hey, Trevor, I want you. That's one thing he told me, I want you with Trevor. And never knew Trevor, had no my first day meeting him. And I just went up to him and I was talking to him and I said, you know what? You're gonna be my guy. I said, you're going to be my guy.
So you believed in him.
I believed in him. I saw some, I love him to this day. Actually, we just texted the other day and I just text him out of the blue and told him, I say, I love you, and I do that with a lot of my kids. And I do love them. And during the whole season, even we went through some stuff with, because Trevor was a kind of kid that he loved football and he wanted to be the best at it. and he wanted to play every down. I had to get him to understand that you can't every down. You know, we know your body's meant for it, but we got 2 other horses that can play as well. So I had to get him to a situation where that he was comfortable understanding his role, and it worked. I mean, I think, and he tells me now, he said, "Coach, thank you, and I love you." So I see stuff like that, and it makes me appreciative. It makes me think that I won. You know, we might not have won a championship game, but we won. I won. I won a friend for life. I won a little brother for life. So just that whole thing, how the kids received me, and how the coaching staff at the time received me, because they didn't know. Coach Taylor and the Taylors knew who I was, but nobody else knew. So just seeing how everybody gravitated to me and how I gravitated to them, and how a real program was ran, I learned a lot. Honestly, I was a head coach for a while, but just to come to see the other side and see how they do it, how the big boys do it, it actually rejuvenated me, to be honest with you. I'm having the most fun now being an assistant that I did when I was a head coach at the other place. And I do that now. I refer to that school as the other place now, because I'm happy now, but I think a lot of people did not know the story of what truly happened. And I'm not going to share the whole story with what happened, but people who know me, and they know what kind of my character and what kind of person I am, they should have known something was up with that. But I'm at peace with things now, more so ever. It's just, I get emotional. Just I think about it, because all that the love that I poured in at the other place, and what I did for my community, and that a lot of people did not know, and to get smacked in the face like I did, yeah, it still hurts. But at the same time, it's like almost sometimes it's happy tears, because he brought me home. Actually, I think he brought me home to a place where they truly appreciate
you. And I mean, this guy drives 1 hour here and 1 hour home. That's dedication. That is dedication.
Yeah.
And that's commitment to the kids. That's because he loves it.
And I you know, I look at it in my drive here and the drive home, I reflect on you know, the kids here. And to be honest with you, Coach, I don't know if I told you this, I still talk to some of the kids in Amelia now. They'll call me and they'll ask me about different things about you know, recruiting and stuff like that. And I do that because I have the love for those kids that the bond that I've made with some of those kids there. I love the kids, man. So but that drive, man, it lets me reflect on where I've been to where I am now, and how this program right here just gave me life again. So the trip to me is an easy trip, and even with my business, I know Coach Taylor didn't even tell us, I bring my kids snacks and stuff like that. So, and that's what I did at the other place too. But here, man, I think to me the kids here at Bird, just to see them being so appreciative of Coach, man, thank you. We love that. We love what you do and stuff like that. So it's just a different type of love. And so it makes that trip from Amelia here and from here back to Amelia so smooth. So it's not even about that, man. It's just about the love that, you know, we try to spread here for our kids here, man, and what we're trying to build and changing lives. Because I believe once we change lives, all that other stuff falls right into the play. It falls into play with what we want, and we're gonna start doing great things. Great things are happening here at LC Bird, and it's with this guy. I mean, people don't give, you know, they see a lot. They might see some stuff on Friday nights, but they don't. It doesn't. This guy has meant so much to me. Not even before I came, even when we played Riverheads, he and Tony came to a football game way in Riverheads just to watch me coach. So I mean, just to see that, and he always used to tell me, "You're the first coach under my tree." He used to always say that, the first coach under his tree. But at the same time, it's crazy how all that stuff revolve around again, and I'm back with them again for the, and people always ask me, Coach, how long? We had a coach, he asked me, he was like, Coach, are you ever want to be no, I don't. I never want to be a head coach again. I don't want to do that. I'm having so much fun right now doing what I'm doing. He allows me to coach and he allows me to do the things that I did when I was head coach. So to me, it hasn't changed a bit. I still do the things that I was doing. I just don't make those administrative decisions, which is good. I let him do all of that, but just letting him show me the flexibility to because he knows I know what I'm doing. So I'm appreciative so much of this guy, and people need to understand his story as well. He's helped change a lot of people's lives, and he's done a lot for this community, and I'm appreciative to you, Coach, for real.
Thank you.
I love you like my brother.
I love you too, brother. And that's something we hang our hat on. And we learned from Jimmy, who was the master of coaching.
I met him.
Yeah,
he came to Amelia.
Yeah, he came. They still remember.
Oh my gosh,
from one day.
Gosh.
So, like, what would you leave the clinic with? Any young coach out there? What would you leave them with? It's, a couple things.
And like I told Coach Jones, trust the people that you're with. Let them know that it's okay to give suggestions and stuff like that. It's okay to do that, but at the end of the day, they have to understand that you're the man in charge. When things go bad, they're going to look at you. And just having good people around you, and be strong. Be strong in your convictions. Is what you say is what goes, because you're in charge of 70, 80, 20, 30 kids, whatever the number is. You are in charge of those kids. They belong to you when you're with them, and sometimes when you're not, because as coaches, we coach all at night. We coach in the morning. I've had kids call me. They don't gotten in trouble, and I've had to go and get them out of trouble. So you're coaching all the time. So my advice is just, number one, love your kids. Love your kids. Love the place where you're at. Because I believe if you do that, you're going to be fine. And just trust the coaches that you have with you, and let them understand the love that you have for them with you. So but yeah. So those are the things that I really want to just put out there to you. And like I said, I in Amelia, we at the other place, I said the name, but at the other place, we had some great times. We had great times, and I've had some great football players that come through Amelia. I've loved all the kids that I've coached. I've loved all the kids that I've coached. And just as like I love all the kids that I've coached here at Bird. So love your school. Number one, love your school. Love your teammates. Love your coaches, and everything else falls right into place.
This is from Kyle Richard Anderson. Great asset to the Bird program. He played at Bird, graduated 1997.
Thank you, sir.
He's Coach Bald.
Thank you,
on
sir.
Totem Pole Sports. They're going to be doing a WWE Monday Night Raw recap tonight.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Mark Johnson means the world to me. That's why I wanted to bring him on. So thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you take a look at our other podcasts. We're going to keep bringing more and more guys on. So, Mark, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I love you, man.
I love you too. Go Skyhawks.